unbeaten streak at home US Bank Stadium is officially over. Vikings fall to the Green Bay Packers. Final score 23-10. And I tell you what, folks, let's just go ahead and get the good stuff out the way first, shall we? I thought the first half defense was spectacular. You held the Green Bay Packers offense to just 9 points in the first half. The defense overall, you forced 3 turnovers. And that's about it because, yes, the defensive line, they started off red hot, a sack by Danielle Hunter, but for the majority of the game, the pass rush and the defensive line fizzled out. And Mike Zimmer was hell-bent on keeping Xavier Rhodes on Devontae Adams for the majority of the game. For any other coach in the league, it's barbecue chicken. But with Mike Zimmer, no, we got to keep Xavier Rhodes on Devontae Adams, who went off for 13 receptions, 116 yards. That possession where Green Bay took a go-ahead lead on the Vikings 17-10 in the third quarter, the Packers were in the red zone at this point at the Minnesota 18-yard line. 2nd and 1, so keep that in mind. 2nd and 1, a short yardage situation for a first down. And Mike Zimmer has Trey Waynes play 7 yards off coverage on Valdez-Scantling. And what do you know? Aaron Rodgers, he snaps the ball, quick strikes to MVS for a first down. Next play, Aaron Jones, he rushes for a touchdown. Speaking of Aaron Jones, you also gave up another TD on a 56-yard touchdown run to Aaron Jones. Now we get to the offense where Mike Zimmer had the audacity to really spend a timeout. 4th and 1 at midfield, down 17-10, only to freaking punt? Really? And then we get to the rest of the offense. 7 first downs, 7 in the entire game. That's averaging less than 2 first downs a quarter. That's the fewest amount of first downs by a team since 1971. The 10 points that the offense scored yesterday was thanks to the defense blessing them with favorable field position after 2 takeaways. The offense by the Minnesota Vikings that we saw yesterday was an absolute disgrace. And where do we even start with this offense? Do we start with the absence of Dalvin Cook? Because I'll tell you what, after yesterday's performance, it has been made clear that the Vikings, if you're going to win a championship, you need a healthy Dalvin Cook because without him on the field, it puts way too much pressure on Kirk Cousins that he cannot handle. But I like Mike Boone. I like him as a player, but you can tell the lights may have been a little bit too bright for him. If he was a little bit patient at times and let his vision do the work for him, there were a couple of holes that he downright missed. But in defense of Mike Boone, the offensive line did him no favors at all because they played like a bunch of bums who couldn't make it on a community college football team as walk-on players. The Vikings offensive line yesterday gave up 7 TFLs, 5 sacks. You made Zadarius Smith look like the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. And Kirk Cousins, you don't get any excuses for this either, bro. You don't get any excuses for that craptastic performance that we saw yesterday because it looked like he channeled his inner Sam Darnold because it looked like he was seeing ghosts out there on the football field. And Kevin Stefanski, bro, you should be ashamed of yourself. He basically reverted back to the extra conservative play calling that got the whole team called out after losing to the Chicago Bears in Week 4. They played like they were comfortable, like they had the number 1 seed locked up, like they had nothing to play for. You still had a shot to possibly win the division, to possibly make it as a 2 seed. Either way, best case scenario, to at least host one playoff game at US Bank Stadium. And you played soft. You left your hearts in the locker room. It reminded me of the 2016 Colts game or the Bears game last year in Week 17 to where you have a shot to make something happen. Don't just settle. You can, in the case of last year, make the playoffs by beating the Bears in Week 17 or in 2016 against the Colts. You still have a shot to stay in contention to possibly make it to the postseason, and you played like you simply didn't care. That was downright pathetic. And another big game for Mike Zimmer, the defensive guru that he is. And everyone that says, well, the defense was great. And I agree. The defense in the first half was lights out. In the second half, it was a bit choppy, but stop talking about Mike Zimmer as if his responsibilities starts and ends on defense. That is the very definition of a defensive coordinator. He is the head football coach of the entire team. And the team that we saw yesterday in front of their home crowd, mind you, the team that we saw out there as a whole looked like a bunch of clowns that don't deserve to get paid. If you think that is the recipe of success to win a playoff game and make a deep playoff run, you are sadly mistaken. That ain't it, bro. You play like that, you're one and done in the playoffs. We do this 3 times a week. Mediocre at Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. Also, my daughter was born last Friday. So last year, we gave birth to our first son. I call him Sarcastic Sebastian. Last Friday, we gave birth to our second child, my first daughter. We're going to call her Jubilant Julie. So that's some good stuff right there. No podcast were interrupted, but whatever. We do this 3 times a week. Normally the day after the games, Wednesdays and Thursdays, but tomorrow's Christmas, Wednesday. I'm not doing a podcast. Next podcast will be on Thursday. We'll see you then. Bye.